Sup everyone, I'm Kel, Red Zone Rogue, and welcome to another Force of Will video. Today we have my top 10 favorite cards of Alice Origin 2. I'm incredibly excited for this list. This set is awesome. It is my first official set after returning to Force of Will, and it's a very spicy set. There's a lot of powerful cards here. Some may even call it power creep. But I think it's pretty good power level. Enough power that you actually want to buy the cards and make decks out of them. I'm actually really excited for all three of the new rulers. But before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to Happy Little Hug Factory. Those folks support this channel and I support them. They're an awesome online store. They have Force of Will sealed product and singles of Alice Origin 2 available right now. They might be out of the booster boxes, but I would just check their store. I have an affiliate link in the description down below. I do know they were giving you a discount if you purchase the starter decks with the booster boxes, which is really cool. And if you like to buy singles, they do have singles as well. But without further ado, let's get started with this list. I am really stoked. This is actually, I mean, I've kind of lied to you already. This is a top 12 list. There were so many cool cards in this set. I just had to go over at least 12. I had a list of like 17 and I really struggled to cut it down. This is a really cool set. Most of the cards are in the rare or super rare slot, but there are a couple that we're going to talk about that are in the starter decks and some of them that are in the normal or what you would call a common slot. Speaking of which, the first card is, that's what you call a transition. First card is a present from Machina. This is a chant for a single water. Sword art, which is actually pretty relevant, has quick cast, and it's a pretty simple card, but I like it quite a bit. It says, draw a card. If you control Maribella, choose a card from your stranger deck at random and put it into your hand. So this card could technically draw you 2 cards for a single will, which is quite powerful. I really love the fact that this is a normal rarity card. You're going to get a lot of these. If you buy a booster box, you're going to probably end up with a full playset of these, which is really cool. I think this is a pretty good slam dunk into the Machina deck if you're just playing the Alice Origin cluster, which is kind of what I've been playing primarily. Instead of New Frontiers, I've just been focusing more on the Alice Origin cluster because those cards are more readily available than stuff from the Valhalla cluster, and it's a lot easier to get folks into it, and cards like this actually help facilitate that. Most of the cards in this list, like I said, are rare or super rares, because that's where a lot of the power is and a lot of the non-reprints, because there are a lot of reprints in this set too, but they're pretty good reprints. But regardless, I do think a present from Machina is a really solid card. You know, it's just kind of a cantrip. Sometimes draws you 2 cards. It is a sword art, so you can play this off of any of the regalia that let you, produce will to play for sword arts. And yeah, just solid all around. I would also like to note that this list is in no particular order as I cover the next card, Nameless Knight. This is one of my favorite cards of the set. It's a 600/600 for 2 will, a water, and a light. It is a Resonator Knight of the Round Table, which is awesome, which means we are actually getting support for Freya and Melgus in this set, which is excellent. It's really good that they're continuing to support other rulers, found earlier in the cluster. Has an enter ability of remove target darkness resonator from the game. Quite powerful, pretty good targeted hate. And it says your opponent pays 2 more to play activate abilities of resonators they control. Very powerful effect. It stops some infinite combos, kind of just slows your opponent down. Even if you don't get much use out of the darkness resonator removing from the game clause, the opponent costing 2 more to play their activate abilities is actually quite relevant. It also says, whenever a stranger enters the field under your control, you may pay a light. If you do, put this card from your graveyard into your hand. So it just keeps coming back. Yeah, this card's really sweet. It's recursive, it's powerful, it has a really good effects. One effect is kind of niche, but I think this card is fantastic. And I'm definitely going to be getting at least 3 or 4 of these for my Freya deck. Next up is Maribella. This might be the next Shakti. We'll see, but I think she is quite good, and I definitely want a full playset of her. She's a 600/600 for 1 water and a wind. She's a Resonator human machine. Enter, search your deck for a machine, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Pretty good. Just a tutor for 2 will. And you can also pay a water and discard this card. Search your deck for a card named Maribel Type 0, which is a regalia. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Then you can remove this card in your graveyard from the game, and then you put a soul counter on Maribel Type 0 you control. Maribel Type 0 is not in my top 10 list. It is a really cool card, but it is a regalia, so it has a lot of the regalia causes. But if you remove this in your graveyard from the game, putting a soul counter on Maribel Type 0, it can become a big, powerful resonator, which is really sweet. So this card tutors. It tutors for both machines as well as the Maribel Regalia, and also has you know, the ability to pump up the Maribel Regalia. I think this card is a Windmill Slam, auto 4 of in any Machina deck. Next up is Super Beast Burning Rush. This is a Chant Sword Art for double fire, double wind. There's a huge wall of text here, but this card is incredibly powerful. So let's get started. It says, put a friendship counter on your J ruler. The friendship counter is Pricia's new ability. If this card was awakened, choose X times from the following. Otherwise, choose X times from the following at random, where X is the number of friendship counters on your J ruler. So if you awakened it, you kind of get to pick which ones you want. If you don't awaken it, it's all at random, and X equals the number of friendship counters on your J ruler. And it says you can also choose any option multiple times, which is very, very important. So what does it do? This card deals 500 damage to your opponent, or put a 600/600 Wind Beast Resonator token into the field. It gains swiftness until end of turn, or recover up to 2 magic stones you control, which is absurd, by the way. Or choose a card from your stranger deck at random and put it into your hand. And its awakening is a pretty hefty cost. It is also double fire, double wind, but it is a sword art, so you can play this card with Regalia, at least Regalia that produces fire or wind. This card is incredibly powerful. You know, even if you don't awaken it, and even if you just get random stuff, it's still quite good. I think if you're getting like random things, recovering your stones is probably the weakest. But if you get a pick, recovering your stones can be a really, really big deal, especially if you have a lot of friendship counters on your J ruler, because you can recover more stones than you use to play this card, but you kind of already need a lot to play it anyway, so it's just kind of like a big rampy spell, but it also can just dome your opponent out because it deals 500 damage to your opponent. So say this card, say you have like 4 friendship counters on your J ruler, that's 2,000 damage. That's a lot of damage. I think this card's good. I don't know if it'll see play. It seems really expensive, but I think it's really, really flashy, and it's a really, really cool finisher. Next up is Royal Palace Guardian Mage Freya. This is a stranger. 700/700 for a wind and a water. Resonator, stranger, wizard. Quick cast. Enter. You may change all targets of target spell or ability that has 1 or more targets. I really love effects like this. The fact that it says spell or ability is really, really cool, so it can change the targets of like enter abilities, for example. The fact that it's a resonator and not a spell makes it so much better. I really like spells that do this kind of thing, but just having a 700/700, you know, that's left over on the field afterwards, after you change the effect, is really, really good. This is kind of like a 2-for-1 in that regard. I like this card quite a bit. It is a super rare, so keep that in mind, but I think it's quite powerful, and I'm definitely going to be trying this out in my wind and water decks for sure. Next is Forbidden Summoning. This is one of the cards where I first read it and I was like, what? I had to reread it again. I'm like, what does it actually do? This is crazy. Yeah, so here we go. Forbidden Summoning. It is a chant mage art for double water and a darkness. Search your deck for up to 3 Gorgons that don't share a name, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Remove this card from your game and put a Forbidden Arts counter on it. Then if you control a J ruler named Valentina, put up to 3 Gorgons that don't share a name from them from your hand into the field. Kind of messed that up a little bit, but basically you gotta search your deck for 3 Gorgons, and then you put a Forbidden Arts counter on this card and remove it from the game. And then if you're playing Valentina, which you're definitely playing Valentina, you're gonna put 3 Gorgons from your hand into the field. That is so much value for only 3 will. This card is nuts. This card is actually nuts. Then it also has more stuff. It says, as long as this card is in your removed area with 1 or more forbidden counters on it, Gorgons you control gain plus 200/+200. Yeah, like, you remember how I was saying about power creep? Yeah, this card is actually bonkers. All the Gorgons, I believe, are like at the normal rarity. The reprints from the original Alice cluster. They're still pretty good cards in their own right. There's like Medusa, is Uridale or something like that. But there's a lot of pretty powerful ones. And they don't even have to be that powerful. Just getting 3 decently sized bodies on like turn 3 is really good, especially if you're playing like a control deck, just gumming up the board, blocking all their stuff. I don't know, this card seems crazy. I like it a lot, but I like it a lot because it makes a resonator type that really wasn't relevant and was never really that good. It makes it pretty good. Yeah, I definitely want a bunch of these. Next up is Secret Duel in the Moonlight. This is one of the ones that I know a lot of people are going to be gunning for. probably going to be an expensive card. This is a Chant, Sword Art, and Moon Art. This is the very first Moon Art we're ever getting for a single fire. It says, as additional cost to play this card, pay any amount of life, draw a card for each 1,000 life paid this way. So that's kind of a lot of life. However, it says Awakening Fire. This card deals X damage divided as you choose among any number target resonators, where X is the amount of life paid as an additional cost. So for example, if you pay 2,000 life, you get to draw 2 cards and deal 2,000 damage divided as you choose among any number of target J resonators. Really, really good for only 2 will. It's a lot of life loss, you know, it's like half your life, but it replaces itself, draws a card, kills basically their entire field. This is gonna be a really, really good finisher. Just know if this card gets countered or canceled, you still paid the life because it's an additional cost. Also has a second awakening of a Moon Will. J resonators gain -100 for each 100 life paid as an additional cost until end of turn. So there really isn't anything that produces Moon Will yet. I think this card is hinting at, you know, future Gil Lapis-y type stuff, you know, because there's definitely Gil Lapis in the art and he is definitely associated with Moon type will. But as it is, even without the Moon Will, I think this card is fantastic. Really, really good finisher. You're going to see this in a lot of places. This is going to be, you know, $5, $10, $15 card. Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have Suppression Order. I like this card a lot because it is a very, very efficient card for the machine deck. This is a single drop 1 water Chant Sword Art with quick cast. As an additional cost to play this card, reveal a machine resonator from your hand. This card deals damage equal to the revealed resonator's attack to target J resonator. If this card was awakened, choose a card at random from your stranger deck and put it into your hand. And the awakening is just a single wind will. So for 2, you can reveal a machine from your hand, deal damage to an opposing resonator, and get a card from your stranger deck. This card's really, really good. Basically, you get a powerful stranger resonator and you deal a ton of damage. In the artwork here, you can see like the oh, I forget what it's called. I'm gonna add it into the picture right here. It's like the big golem. It's like a Blightsteel Colossus, or the Darksteel Colossus of Force Duel. If you have that in your hand, you're going to deal a lot of damage, and I'm definitely going to be making a machine deck with that card in it because it is reprinted in this set as a normal rarity card. So if you have that in your hand, basically 1 will, kill anything. And also, if you have extra will, you get a little stranger from your deck. Yeah, pretty good. Next up is Blue Wizard. This card is actually a starter deck card, which I think is actually pretty good because this card is very, very good. This is a 600/600 for a single water will with quick cast. Enter, cancel target automatic ability of a resonator. Cancel target automatic ability of a resonator. I said that weird. This card's really good. 600/600 for 1 with quick cast. Pretty standard rates for a stranger. Very, very powerful stats. But cancel any automatic ability of a resonator. Very, very powerful. There's very, very good automatic abilities like Loki that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Just very, very versatile. Yeah, I'm going to be playing with this. Comes in the starter deck. Yeah, I think everyone's going to be playing with this if you're playing blue. Next up, we have the return of Dark Alice, everyone's favorite dark waifu. She is a 800/800 for 3 will, double darkness, and a water. The card is actually called Wanderer in the Nightmare Land. She's a resonator wanderer. Enter, choose a number. Your opponent banishes a resonator with total cost equal to that number. If this card was awakened, your opponent banishes all resonators with total cost equal to that number instead, and you choose a card from your stranger deck at random and put it in your hand. The awakening cost is removing 3 resonators in your graveyard from the game. I think this card is incredibly powerful. You can kill a lot of your opponent's resonators with this. The awakening cost of removing 3 resonators in your graveyard from the game isn't that big of a deal, especially if it's like late game. Early game, this doesn't do a lot, but it already costs 3 will to play. So, you mean, I can't imagine you play this very early, very often. And this can get around a lot of weird, like, can't be, you know, targeted effects. Your opponent gets to banish the resonator. You don't target it. So this also gets around, like, indestructible type effects as well. You know, kind of like that golem that we just talked about. So yeah, this card's really good. It's definitely going to be seeing some play, and I'm definitely going to be putting at least a couple copies of it, if I get them, into my version of the Valentina deck. Next up, we have Huang Long. Holy crap. This dude is insane. This, you know how I said that Maribella might be the Shakti of the set? Well, Huang Long, if she's not the Shakti of the set, Huang Long is the Shock T of this set because he is ridiculous. He's a 500/500 for a fire and a wind will. He's a Resonator God Beast. This card gains +200/+200 for each 4 sacred beasts you control. Enter, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a 4 sacred beast Resonator that doesn't share a name with Resonators you control. Put that card into the field and shuffle the rest of your deck. As long as you control 4 or more 4 sacred beasts with different names, this card and 4 sacred beasts you control gains swiftness, flying, and barrier. Wow, this is actually crazy. If you have a critical mass of 4 sacred beasts, your team is like unstoppable. They all gain barrier, swiftness, and flying because this also gains barrier, swiftness, and flying. You know, addition, it's like a 700/700 for 2, which is really, really good. You know, 500/500 plus the 4 sacred beasts that you get, and you also get that 4 sacred beast for free. This card reminds me a lot of that Gorgon card, the Forbidden Summoning that we talked about, where you basically get to cheat cards from your deck into play at no additional cost. Cards like that, in my experience in card games, are incredibly powerful. I think this card is very, very good. This is a very good example of power creep in Force of Will because this is nuts. I don't know if it's gonna break anything, but I know in cluster format, this is a big deal. And then finally, we have another starter deck card. This is the last card we're going to be talking about today. This is Loki, the Ancient Demon Lord. This guy is a house. He's a 1200/1200 for 10 will, triple darkness, and 7. He has flying. Why does he have flying? You may pay 1 less to play this card for each Resonator in the field. So if there's a lot of Resonators on the field, he costs less, which is good because you want him to cost less. Because when he enters, remove all other Resonators from the game. Yeah, this is so crazy. You know what you could do with this? You know how Melgus has the ability to put strangers from his stranger deck into play for free. If you get Loki for free on like turn 3 off of a J activate, that's insane. Like 1200/1200 flying who just kills everything else. It's like your opponent's like, you better have removal or Loki's gonna beat you down. This card is it's nuts. And it's a starter deck card, which is awesome. So everyone who buys the Valentina deck, you're gonna get a Loki. You're probably gonna get 2 Lokis. Oh, actually, knowing the starter decks, you might get 4 Lokis, but I digress. This card is fantastic. This is a windmill slam in any darkness deck with strangers, like absolute windmill slam. Unless you expect a very control heavy meta where they don't play Resonators, but I don't know about that, man. If you're playing darkness and you're playing a ruler that has strangers, you should probably be playing Loki, the Ancient Demon Lord. And that is that, everyone. I hope you liked my top 10, or I guess 12 list. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite cards of the set are. There's so many other ones that I really, really like that I wasn't able to talk about. And maybe they're some of your favorite stuff. So just let me know what they are in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you actually get to see the videos. It all really, really helps. And I appreciate it oh so much as a smaller channel. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for some more Force Will content on the channel. I have deck in the box openings, double, triple, quadruple booster box openings of Alice Origin 2, as well as starter deck upgrade guides for both starter decks and a Machina deck tech. So I'm going to have deck techs for all 3 of the rulers, as well as some starter deck unboxings too. So got a lot of stuff planned for Alice Origin 2. I'm super excited. This set, as you can see, is pretty sweet. There's a lot of really, really sweet stuff in the set. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time for some more card game content. See you then.